Morena, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this first Zeald webinar for 2021. My name is Rhonda and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. The summer has been amazing. I hope you've all enjoyed a great break. Us here at Zeald, this is our second week back at work and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting back into a nice rhythm. However, the recent COVID case has been a humbling reminder to be grateful for the summer we've had compared to others around the world, and also to be vigilant in our COVID prevention habits. Along with that, it has also been a good reminder to keep an eye out on the global and local situation as we come to make plans for 2021. So I think today's topic is actually very timely, not just because it's the beginning of a new year, new work year, but also because of the recent COVID issues. And so our topic today is how to create a digital marketing calendar for 2021. And I'm being joined today by Lisa and Jara. So Jara is an agency director here at Zeald. He's been a leader in the media and digital industry. Hi, Jara.
Good morning, Rhonda.
Hi. So Jara has a wealth of knowledge and experience to share, and he's particularly going to be joining us for the question and answer section at the end of the webinar. So if you have questions as we're going through, please place them there and we'll bring Jara in to help answer those. I'm going to be joined by Lisa. Lisa is going to be delivering the main presentation. Lisa is our client services manager and has had a varied background working for and supporting many SME get online business digital results. So just some housekeeping before we start. If you just look at that screen there, you can see there's a taskbar at the bottom of your screen. So if you can't hear anything, there is some settings that you can play around with there on the bottom left side just to make sure that you can hear things. If you want to ask a question, it's probably best to just put it through on the Q&A section there. That way I can see them. If it's something that's relevant to what's been talked about right away, I might break the presentation and ask it. Otherwise, I'll collate them for at the end of the session. The raise a hand means that you want to break into the session and speak live. So I'd suggest you leave that one alone. And don't worry if you miss anything. We will be recording today's session and posting that on our website. We also will email you out a copy of it at the end of the session so you can watch it back. But I think that's about all my housekeeping. So Lisa, welcome.
Sure. Good morning. How's everyone today? Cool. So yes, jumping straight into it. So as Rhonda said, today we are covering off how to create a digital marketing calendar for 2021. So a lot of what we're going to cover today is both the meaning behind it and some potentially brainstorming sessions or information gathering sessions you'll need to go through first, and then we'll move into actually creating the marketing calendar and ways you can do that. So if I go through today's topics, we have what is a digital marketing calendar, importance of a calendar, how to set goals for marketing events, what goals you should have for your events and marketing activity, KPIs around that, different versions of a calendar, and how to get started in creating your digital marketing calendar. So some of these first ones I will probably move through a bit more quickly so we can spend time on these last topics. But yeah, as Rhonda said, it will be online afterwards and we will actually send you a link to that as well. So first up, what is a digital marketing calendar? So it basically is a document that will outline all your year's marketing goals and initiatives. And this can be in a format that is either just over a whole year broken into months, it can be broken down weekly, or it can actually also be broken down into day by day. It will contain all your scheduled marketing activities or ideas for marketing activities. And another key aspect of it is it actually is also good to highlight all the days in the year if you're maybe one that targets Mother's Days, Father's Days, etc. If that's your business, it's good to have those in there so you can see when they're coming up. If you have quite an advanced calendar, it will also help you keep track of individual tasks that you have planned for each of your marketing activities. It gives you an overview of your progress, so you can see what you have done quite easily, and you can easily go back and go, did that work, and then alter it for your next campaign that's maybe coming up and similar to a past one you've run. And it's, again, reference for your future marketing campaigns. So what we believe it should contain, and I think it's the first 3 points here that I feel a real basic one should contain. The ones after that will get more and more advanced. So of course it should just contain the marketing campaign and strategy. What your goals are. So there's no real point not getting into marketing activity if you don't have a goal for it. And I will cover that off in a little bit. Your key performance indicators. So how do we know we've hit those goals? So what am I going to see in the results to know I've achieved that goal? Your marketing collateral. So this one is important, but it might be something you just have and you don't add it into your calendar. What promotional channels you're using. Any timelines and deadlines. So if you are someone who's maybe looking to post on social media or somewhere and need images, you might need to start putting in certain timelines and deadlines that you need those ready by. If there's an offer, so what you're looking to do or what is your offer for that marketing activity that you're doing. And then we move into why it's all important. So it ensures that all your marketing activities align with your goals. So this way, like I said, there's a basic version, and that might just have maybe social and email that you're really focusing on. And so what you're doing is making sure that those two activities align with your overall goal, whereas a more advanced one will have maybe a few more platforms that it's using. And with that, you will then be making sure that each of those different channels are aligning to what goals or what you're trying to achieve out of it. It helps you organize your day-to-day tasks or your week-to-week tasks, or maybe who you're giving that to so that they know what your plans are. Yeah, it helps the team stay on track. It will help you stick to timelines as well. So I know for one sort of end of year, probably, because I can speak from 2020, Christmas kind of crept up a bit quickly. I know that we started talking about Christmas in probably September, October, but then all of a sudden it was here. So just having this in place will help you realize which days are coming up and how soon they're coming up, and again, can help you stick to those timelines or those deals that you need to put out. It saves you time and effort overall because you're not having to constantly then think on the fly or every week, what marketing activities do I need to do, because you've already planned out the year. And it also then makes sure that, all your marketing initiative works together to provide your customers with a consistent brand experience. So again, highlighting if your channels are really social and email, then that's mainly going to be the channels you have throughout your calendar. But what you might do is you might have maybe a on season, so it might be you sell wet gear, raincoats, etc. And winter's more popular to buy. So in that space, you might then add in Google AdWords, but it's to support something that that's going on in your business. And it helps you prepare for marketing events. So how to set goals for marketing events. So this is the bit where I said, you do need to spend some time first gathering goals, KPIs, and what you're trying to achieve before you actually sit down and do your calendar. Because without these, your calendar doesn't have anything that you're sort of making it be going into. Because your goal or your KPIs and what you're trying to achieve is what's going to drive it all. So before you begin, you need to set these first. The benefits of setting all these goals for your marketing events are it's giving you an overview of your event goals and how you can help achieve your overall marketing goals. It allows you to define relevant KPIs to measure success. It also allows you to define your primary KPI. So I think that's something that you need to be careful with as well, not to define too many, because that will give you a scattered approach. Whereas if you really knuckle down and focus on just a few, that will give you more success in the long run. It then will help you break down essential tasks that need to be done for each event to meet that goal. And it also makes it easier to set realistic timelines for individual tasks as well. So your goals must be SMART. So I'm sure we've all heard of SMART goals. They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so that's just the simplistic SMART goals, and they are very important. So for example, your social media goal for a Valentine's Day, so February, could be get 50 organic Facebook shares for your Valentine's Day promo post. So what that is you've done a post around Valentine's Day, you're maybe promoting a product or a special you have on, and what you're aiming to do with that is you're aiming for people to want to share it to their page to then share it out with more people. Obviously, when you're looking at this, get 50 organic, you would have quite a database already on social media. So this would not be a SMART goal if you're someone who's just starting out on social media, but it would be someone who already has a database on social media. So you've got to think about, do I already have an existing database on that channel? Google AdWords obviously slightly different. Do I have some keywords that I can target? But that's what you've got to start thinking of when you're setting these. And now a little statistics. So marketers who set goals are 376% more likely to report success. So again, having an end goal, having where we want to get to will help you plan towards that. And that's from a survey that was done by CoSchedule, and where they actually emailed out to all marketers, a whole bunch, I think it was around 4,000, and that's where the results they got. So your marketing goals for each event then must be clearly communicated in your marketing calendar. And like I said, having clear goals will ensure that all marketing initiatives have a purpose to help you achieve your bigger marketing objectives. So again, with this, there's no point if you're doing like a one-off, let's do a social post because I want to start building that database, and then but your actual overall bigger marketing activities are growing your email database, let's say. While it's good to have this one-off, it should then be part of your bigger goal as well. So it's just pulling it all together and having the one or two focuses. And so the well-defined event marketing goals will help make it easier for you to structure your marketing plan in a way that is realistic and relevant to your business. Another thing this will also do is it will mean that you're easily adaptable should things happen. So let's say all of a sudden you have a big plan for Mother's Day and then your stock's not going to arrive. Having a plan already in place may mean that you're easily able to just swap out a couple of the things or maybe what the offer is on in order to still have a marketing activity around that time. So what goals should you have for your marketing activity? So one, when setting your goals, assess your brand's position in the market and what you want to achieve. So going back to the whole, if you don't really have a social following, your goal should be around growing your social following, rather than maybe, you're wanting to get people to like or share and have quite a high number for that first. Or likewise with your email database, it might be around growing that database. So how can you get more people signing up to your email? And that could be, newsletters, etc. So really need to sit back and think about what your brand and your business position is, and what you're really wanting to drive or achieve there. So, promote your products, other ones, get more leads, increase e-commerce sales, boost your brand's visibility. So that's a lot around the database one I've talked about. Acquire new customers. So like I said, I want more email database. How do I do that? I do newsletters, or do I do blogs? Do I invite people to sign up for those? Retain existing customers. So do I offer specials to those who have already purchased with me, or how do I engage them with what I'm doing now? And remarket to previous customers as well. Increase engagement with customers. So from that, that's quite a big amount of different ways that you can look at this. So from that, like I said, you don't want to try and do all of them. You want to select a few goals that are very realistic to your business and can be quite quickly achievable for it as well. So you can also do it where you maybe have two that are quite short term. You know that you've already got the following or a lot of customers or a lot of prospects in that space, so that you know that you can target them. And then you might have a longer burn one where you know it's something that you've got to grow and work on over the year as well. So number 2 is setting your KPIs. So I'm moving a bit more into that next. But yeah, your key performance indicator, or a KPI, will help you measure the performance of your marketing campaign. This is very, very key, just like it says in its own title, because you need to know if it was successful or not, because if you don't have that there, you're sort of just running campaigns and never really understanding if they're actually helping achieve your goal. So setting the right KPIs for your marketing goals will help you determine whether your strategies are working or not. They will also help provide insights on how you can improve it in the future. So I think it's important. I know sometimes here at Zeald, what we hear a lot is people going, oh, but I've done Google AdWords and I just spend all this money and I never ever saw anything. And when we hear that, quite often it's that the results weren't being looked at and weren't being analysed to see if they needed to change slightly, or if they were actually, there was another bit of the chain. So quite often, sometimes AdWords aren't landing on a good page. So then it's causing people to leave straight away. So, you know, there's other aspects of it that really need to be analysed. So it's important that you have these in place so you can do that. So setting KPIs, key performance indicators. So there's quite a few here just to give you quite a range of ideas. So if you're going to be quite focused on sales, or, you know, you're more a service company as well, it might be number of qualified leads, or total conversions from the activity. It could be the conversion rate. So how many people have come to this activity, and then how many have actually converted into a lead or a sale. And then if it is something where you're selling it online, what's your average purchase value? So this is a good one, because, you know, you might be selling a range of products that from $100 to $1,000, and your average purchase value may only be $200. If you're kind of wanting to boost that, then you might need to start looking at some more popular products in the higher price range to then be advertising those as well. So a few ideas there. Then engagement KPIs. So this is getting people to engage with you as a company, which I feel is quite a good one, because clients, customers, prospects who are engaged with you are more likely to buy from you in the long term. I know I, for one, am someone who does a lot of research before I purchase quite often. So engagement KPIs are sort of your website traffic. So how many people are you getting to your website from your activity? Or for something like social media, it might be social media impressions. So how many people are seeing my post? How many people are seeing my ad? And then how many people are liking it? So they actually have read it and they like what I'm saying, or they like what I'm posting about. Or how many people are commenting on it. So it's a post that you've used to actually engage conversation with people. I know a lot of people sort of social media comments, they do it by doing a competition, you know, tag someone and be in to win. Spending KPIs. So this is probably a little bit more on the advanced side. Potentially after you've already done Google AdWords for a while, you'll start looking at the cost per lead generated, and does that equal what your sale is, or what that end conversion is. So really, this is starting to get down into your return on investment. What your cost per conversion is, and cost per acquisition. So I would say if you're starting out, you know, you do want to focus on some of these smaller ones, well, not smaller, but more basic ones. If you're spending quite a lot, and you're not really seeing the results, you might want to then start looking at what your costs are and what that means in your return on investment once they have purchased. Brand experience KPIs. So again, further down the scale, so what's your customer retention rate? So if you're looking to really focus on getting clients to return to you, customers to return and purchase from you, this may be a good KPI to have because you're starting to look at how many of those are return clients. Or likewise, if you maybe have a subscription service, it's then looking at the churn rate and how you want to see that reducing potentially. So those are just some KPIs you can have with that. And then online visibility KPIs. This is probably another basic one. I probably should have put it at the top here. So, you want to get your brand out there. You want people to see you. You want them to start understanding who you are and what you do. So you could look at that by organic traffic. So how many people are coming directly to you? Or a click-through rate. So maybe through search or through ads or through activity that you're doing, what's the click-through rate of people actually coming through to your site? With that one is another good one to have, which is bounce rate. How many people are coming to your website and then are they leaving straight away, or are they staying for 30 seconds, or are they actually staying for quite a long time? So bounce rate's always a good one to look at. And it links into the next one, which is your average session duration. So how long are people staying on your website? Obviously, the longer may mean that it's more engaging and that they're finding what they want, but it can sometimes also mean the opposite, that they're having to stay on your website for a long time because they can't easily find what they want as well. So, there's a few things there that you'd need to then analyze if those are your KPIs. Spent a little bit of time on that one, but I hope you all got a good explanation of those. It's just some examples. So now we're moving into different versions of a calendar. So we'll start off with, it can be as simple or detailed as you want. And we are starting off with quite a simple one here. So a basic marketing calendar can be created through an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet, and your team can refer to when tracking schedules and tasks. So here it's just quite a simple calendar, which just highlights when things are being published and then on what different platforms it's being published on. So, publishing my blog post, then I'm sending it out on Twitter at 9. Then I'm doing in marketing, so an email marketing blog weekly to all my email database. And then on Facebook and Instagram, I'm posting at 12 and 1. Now, the reason for these different timings, just to touch on it, is that those will be the more popular times, perhaps, that people are looking at those platforms. So also another thing to keep in mind is when are people most likely looking at the platform you're looking to post on. These types of marketing calendars can contain the schedules for multiple campaigns and multiple marketing channels, but may also be dedicated to one marketing channel at a time. So another way you could do it is you could have a separate calendar for each of your marketing channels, especially if you've got different people working on them, and then they can own that calendar and make sure everything's planned out and know the exact tasks they need. So examples of a basic marketing calendar is monthly social media calendars. So that's where you're starting to really just focus on social. And so a basic one for that just might have all the different social campaigns you're doing rather than involving too many other channels that you're looking at. It could just be a content calendar as well. So one where you're just looking at maybe you're planning to do a blog post every 2 weeks. So what you're doing is you're highlighting that blog post every 2 weeks and you're filling in what you're going to talk about or what you're going to write about in that blog. Similar to our webinar calendar, we sort of start planning out a bit in advance of what topics we have so that when it comes time to do that webinar, we're prepared with what we're going to do, or at least we only have to pick out of maybe 2 topics. Email calendars, so sort of an email plan of when we're going to send out certain emails and to what which breakdown of my database I'm sending them to as well. And so those are just some ideas there. As I said earlier, if it's something that you're new to, don't try and do all of them at once if you're not already doing it, because you don't want to bombard yourself with a lot of work up front and then not be able to keep up with it. So I guess part of it too, especially in the SME space, is just doing, maybe picking one channel, two channels if you feel comfortable, and really focusing on those and growing those. Let's say you get to maybe 3-6 months in the year. It's okay if a channel's not worked out, because you can change it. It's not too late, but it's just keeping that in mind, that you still need to test and make sure it's achieving KPIs. And if it's not, then change it, but give it some time first. Advanced marketing calendars. So for larger businesses with bigger marketing teams, a more complex marketing calendar may be more practical. So there are many websites and softwares available that let you set schedules and update them in real time. Most of them are highly configurable and allow team members to add as much detail and content as needed. So these are more like your project management softwares, where you're able to sort of put in a card and say, these are the campaign for this month, and here's a breakdown of every task that needs to be done under it. So that's what you're looking at there. As I said, it's mostly for larger businesses or those with maybe some bigger marketing teams, because it will be more practical for what they need to achieve, whereas a basic marketing calendar generally suffices most businesses. So how to get started in creating a digital marketing calendar? So I'm going to start off with the first thing: define your target market. So if you don't know your target market, then you're probably not going to know what channel to hit first or which channels to really focus on. So what are the demographics of your target market? What are their interests? What types of content are they most responsive to? Which periods of the year are they more inclined to shop? So these are the things you need to think about. And why you do this, if you don't already know it, is that then you can go, okay, you know, I sell, I'm a vet, I sell animal products. My posts need to have sometimes some cutesy photos of cats and dogs, because that's what's going to pull on people's heartstrings to go, oh yes, my pet, love my pet, need to get them this. Okay, and so then you're going, well, where do people most like seeing that stuff? Social media. So it's all about trying to find the right channels, and by doing that, you have to define who these people are. I know and it's also thinking about how channels have changed over the years. So I know with Instagram, it started off and it was quite probably the younger. I know I wasn't on Instagram until about 1.5 years ago. It was sort of a database that was quite young, and I had a client who was selling quite expensive furniture, and they were targeting Instagram at that time, but they weren't getting any leads through. And it's because at the time, it wasn't the ideal channel for them. But then over the years now, target market perfect now is Instagram, because people like seeing this luxurious thing that they can have in their home. And it's now got quite a range of people across it. So next up, I've already sort of touched on it, but yep, you've defined your target market, and now you can start selecting those marketing channels. So the most common types of digital marketing channels are search engine results page through search engine optimization or Google Ads. So this is utilizing Google. You know, most of the world's on Google, most of New Zealand's using Google. I think it's quite a crazy amount, over 90% or something. So, you know, that's always one channel. If you've sort of not really got a social media following or a email database, you could really target your SEO and your Google Ads, because that will get out to anyone who's using the Google search engine, and that is a lot of people. So then you have, maybe if you've got a bit of an email database, or maybe your goal is to grow that, email could be your channel. Social media, like I said, and this one you would want to actually probably say what social medias you'll be using. So as you can see here already, we've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. So already there's quite a few out there that you could be using. I know that TikTok's coming up. You've got LinkedIn for businesses. So there's quite a few. If you're starting off, you might just want to pick one. Or if you pick something like Facebook, you can automatically do Instagram as well. So you get 2 for 1. Your website blog. So that could be an area of focus where you want to really grow your blog. You want to be offering advice. You want to be seen as a trusted person. So quite often used in services. And so therefore you're doing a blog. But that generally, just so you're aware, probably links into maybe email or social media. So you generally would do that with something else, because you'll create a blog And then you don't just sit it on your website, you then want to email it out to your database and say, hey, here's the latest. Or you want to share it on social media and go, here's some tips and tricks. Affiliate websites. So this is where you have other websites that are creating content and suggesting and linking through to you. So just a lot of the time this is used with SEO as well, but that's just another way that you could look at it, especially if you feel you've tried all of these, but it wouldn't be my first go-to. And then after you've done that, you've selected your channels, you know your marketing, you sort of have an idea of what you're going to do for the year, you then determine your necessary resources. So set a budget if it's something that you're going to be paying, so Google ads or maybe social media ads, and then determine what types of content you need to create for each campaign as well. So whether it's a blog post, an image, a video, or just some text, you really need to think through and just write that down in your calendar. And then last slide, I believe, so you set your timelines and roles. So identify your deliverables needed before, during, and after each campaign. So make sure after each campaign, you're doing a report that you review. And the things to consider are your required collateral. So is there some brand name things that I need? Is there some images, etc.? Resources, so budget and time. How much time does someone need to set aside to maybe write the blog post, or how much time do they need to set aside to set up all these ads for you? Manpower, so is it just you? Do you need someone helping you? Do you need to see what's available so that you can achieve what you want? And so set timelines for each task and define these key roles for each of your team members so that you know who's doing what and who needs to deliver what by when. And also make sure to create enough leeway in your schedule to accommodate potential delays or revisions. So never for like Mother's Day, never leave it till the last week, never leave it to 2 weeks before. At least try and do a month out. That way, if you're sort of coming up to the deadline, you've not met it, then you've got an extra week maybe. Great, across to questions.
Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate that. It's interesting. It's complex at all different levels. That to me, I'm not a marketing person. I think it could come across quite scary. But Jara, my first question would be, what do you risk if you actually don't have a marketing plan in place?
So the biggest risk is that things you don't have specific goals, and so then you don't know what is actually working and what's not. So if you don't have a really good, clear plan that's defined some KPIs and goals and actions and outcomes, you'll never know exactly whether or not you've hit the mark with any sort of activity. And so that means that you're constantly guessing when it comes to your marketing. And so that's the biggest risk, really, is that you can end up wasting a lot of money and not really getting the results that you probably deserve from the efforts that you've made. Whereas if you're more strategic about it at the end of each campaign and part of your marketing plan and calendar, you can actually review that and then look to improve with the benchmark you set each year. So that's why you do it.
Yeah, so even if it's not a full-blown one like Lisa's described, something's better than nothing to try and give you that guide.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to just add, also it stops you, I guess, from maybe you jump on Facebook, you do a post once and that's it. Yep. And then you go, oh, Facebook didn't work for me. But when you actually go back and go, well, how many times did I post? And you go, oh, only once. You go, oh, I didn't really give it a try. So it kind of helps you also track that so that you're not sort of writing things off without actually really giving it a shot.
Absolutely. Did you have a comment there, Jara?
I was going to say they've got that old adage of I know that half of my marketing works, but I don't know which half it is. If you've got a good plan, then you can actually start to measure things specifically, and so you can actually focus on the half that is working. Right? You don't. The days of that statement being true are kind of gone with digital marketing because everything can be measured.
Right, measuring it and actually making evidence-based decisions.
That's right. And if you put a really good strategic plan in place for your marketing, then measurement's a really key part of it, so that you set your goals, make sure you measure towards them, and then you understand how well you've performed to that, and allow you to make better decisions in the future.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So please feel free to add your questions to that Q&A section down the bottom of the webinar screen. I've got one here from Marie. I've had different views on how often to post to Facebook and the best times. What is your view or advice? Lisa, do you want to go?
Yeah.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think some of it comes down to your business or what you're posting about. So, I mean, first off, we know some general things, like we know Facebook's generally good around lunchtime because that's when people are having a break, or work people are having a break. So then you sort of know some of them are going to be scrolling, looking. So that can be a good time, or after work when people are relaxing from work as well. But if you're not targeting people who are most likely to be in the work area, or be doing sort of a 9 to 5 maybe, then those times aren't going to work for you as much. So it is thinking about, again, your target market. When are they more likely to be doing these things, and you know what's going to work best for you. If you've got quite a lot and you're still not sure what to do, just test them out and then see where you're getting the most responses and engagement from as well.
And track it, right?
Yes, track it.
That's what we've just learned.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. So yeah, test it. Try different times of day and see what sort of results you get, because it will be different for every business. Lisa's exactly right. It depends on who you're talking to and what your target demographic is, what their behavior is, and how you can kind of work on them and try and convince them to take the actions that you want them to take. And so that's the most critical thing. But as a general rule of thumb, if you can post good quality content that aligns to your strategic objectives and your goals, then post as often as you can. Is what it comes down to. So that's the rule, I suppose, is that post as often as you can, as frequently as you can, so long as it's matching or meeting a particular objective or goal. If it doesn't, if you're just posting random stuff that doesn't line up to any of your marketing plan, there's not much point doing it, because it's not going to get you any kind of specific outcome.
And then you can track, right? If I'm posting this frequently, when am I getting the most engagement? Or if that's your goal, or if your goal is to give a promotion, am I actually getting the sales from that? Or whatever it might be, you can then track it and see if there is the result that you're hoping for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got a question. I'm a startup business, and maybe Jara, if you could take this one. I'm a startup business. What areas should my goals be?
So once again, it comes back to your individual business. Like, you need to set your goals that are relevant to you. So your goals first and foremost should be around, what are the key actions that I want people to take that have a positive influence on my business? Is it sales? Is it leads? These sort of things. So those are your high level goals. Once you've got those goals and the actions defined, then you can create a marketing plan from there. For a startup business, that's likely to be focused around lead generation and customer acquisition, because you're going to be out there trying to stimulate demand in the marketplace, let people know that you have a product or service available. So you're not going to be doing as much work on retention and those sort of things. It's very much about getting some volume into your customer acquisition program. And so that's going to be based around what is your sales process, and how can your marketing plan align to getting you actions that support that acquisition process.
Thanks, Jara. Lisa, I've got a question from Reese. What are the benefits/problems of keeping your marketing posts on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter the same/consistent? And I guess the adverse of that, what about the opposite, using different platforms to post different things?
So this, well, yeah, I mean, a benefit for posting the same content, you're saving time. So, you know, there's no point spending half a day writing a blog post and then not sharing it, or only sharing it once. You know, you want to hit as many of the different channels as you can. One of the problems, though, is it might not be suited for all the different channels. So that's where you need to think about it. If you do maybe B2B and B2C, you know, that's where you're thinking, B2B and B2C, and that's where, you know, on LinkedIn your post might be slightly different, because that's where you're advertising your brand and your company in a perspective of meeting others who maybe have a brand or a company that's similar, that you could work with, or, you know, you're trying to approach it in that manner. Whereas on B2C platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc., you're trying to approach your clients or customers, so you're letting them know what you do, who you are, that you're trusted. So that's where, I guess, the problem sometimes of posting the same thing across a wide range of networks. And you know, using different platforms to post different things, that's fine. But it's then coming back to something we've covered off quite a lot in our content webinars. It's being smart content. Don't keep, you know, sometimes you just need to use the same content you already have because you should, and it's saving you time and it's getting the right message out there.
Yeah.
There's no point, you know, redoing it every time you want to use it, because then it's just using your time more when you could be focused on something else.
Cool. Yeah, we actually have a little bit of there's a good saying when it comes to this as well. Don't just republish, repurpose. And so it is really powerful once you create a great piece of content to put it out through these different channels. But you do want to make sure that you just tweak it slightly when it goes out to each of these channels, because you do run the risk a little bit. If someone subscribes to you on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you don't want to hammer them with exactly the same message. You do want to present them with some powerful content, but maybe reframe it for the purposes of that particular platform. So each platform, as Lisa said, has got its own kind of intricacies and ways that it delivers content. And so in some cases, it might be a video, or it might be just a little bit of text if it's Twitter and a link to something. But ultimately, you want to just be cognizant that you will have some people that will subscribe to multi-channels, and you don't want to necessarily upset them by just kind of really hammering with them with exactly the same thing right across all those platforms. And so that repurposing and tweaking of your content is actually quite important.
Thank you, guys. A question here from Chelsea. How do you recommend starting paying for social posts and Google AdWords, etc.? Do we start small and slowly on all channels, or go for a bigger amount on just one channel? Jara. Sorry, I should have.
That's right. That's cool. That's a great question. That's a great question.
That's a good question.
So what it comes down to is this, right? When you are testing these sort of things, data is everything, right? You want to be able to get enough information to make a good decision on whether or not something's working. All right. The risk in spreading your budget across everything is that it will take you longer to get the data that you need, the amount of clicks and conversions, to make a really good decision as to whether or not something works, or will it work with some additional optimization. So little bits of budget right across there, while that will give you data from lots of sources, it will take much longer to get enough information to make some really good decisions. So I'm a fan of actually going in and doing one channel, doing it more aggressively, collecting enough data to decide whether or not this is working or there's potential for it to work, and then you can ensure that you optimize that so that it's running really effectively. Right? Because you kind of got two stages when it comes to digital marketing. There's your test phase, where you're running ads and you're collecting data, and then there's your optimization phase, and that's where you start to learn what's happening, what keywords are generating results, what social posts and content are starting to generate results, and then you can optimize your campaigns to make sure they're performing really efficiently and providing good return on investment. So as I said, the risk at spreading everything out is that process is much slower, and I do recommend that you kind of go more aggressively in one channel with good measurement.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, if you're not sure what channel to go to first, perhaps, like if you've got Facebook and you're looking at Google Ads, a couple of things you could do. You could go and look at what your competitors are doing and where you're seeing them do the most success. And again, I feel like I just keep saying this today, look at your target audience and see where they're more likely to be. Or if you don't really have that too defined, then it might be, I would probably suggest start looking at Google AdWords first before Facebook.
Yeah, it comes down to what the user behavior is as well. So you get your target demographic, and then what are they going to do? Are they actively looking for your product and service? If the answer to that question is yes, then you're generally going to look at Google AdWords and go that aggressively. If people don't know of your product or service and are not looking for it because it's really new, and therefore you need to kind of introduce it as a concept to people, that's where social's really good, because you can go out, talk to the right people, and invite them to try your service or product. So that's generally a good rule of thumb as well when you're trying to decide which one to test first. It's just another option.
Thank you. I think you may have answered this kind of like, do you have to do social? It's time consuming, and what happens if you're a one-man band and actually you're quite private as well? So yeah, do you have to add social to your marketing plan?
I would say no. My advice is, especially if you're a one-man band, that having no social media pages is actually better than having one that you don't look after properly.
Mm.
All right. So if you've got a Facebook page and you've set it up and you're open for business, but you're not checking messages, you're not answering anything, that's the equivalent of like people ringing up and you're just kind of hanging the phone up on them, right? Like it's not a good customer experience. So if you don't have the time to manage a social page, then I would suggest don't do it.
Yeah. And use those other channels, right?
Correct. Yeah. Use some other channels, generate some traffic through Google Ads or through SEO. Make sure you've got a really strong website so people can get all the detail they need to know about buying from you. Those sort of things are really critical, but they don't require quite as much active involvement from you.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, it's already the end of January. Is it too late to put this together?
No, I don't think it's ever late to do a marketing calendar. The most common one that I actually see is following a financial year instead. So generally sort of start of April through to end of March. And the reason for that is then you can align your budgets to your financial year. You know, you're aligning everything to a financial year and you can look what's ahead. So that sort of buys you another month or so.
Right.
But, you know, it's still...
I guess the same... Sorry, Lisa.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it's the same. It's better to put it in place now than to not have it in place at all. So, you know, just it's something that you do need to sit down, crack onto, and then you're sort of set for the year. And that way you're not having to think about it later in the year either.
Yeah, true. And I guess the rule of thumb would be, you know, an annual plan would be great. But, hey, if I've only got time to kind of nut out the next 3 months, that's better than nothing, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I think it's, in particular, if you're someone who's trialing a lot, so you're quite new, you're trialing a few things, it might be a good idea to put sort of maybe a 3 to 6 month plan together and then review it, because then you can go, hey, is this actually working for me? And you've put that, you know, in the road, you've gone, great, at 3 months, I have to review. Like, I'm not just going to go, oh, well, it's 3 months, so I'll just let it continue on. You have to review it and then set out your next 3 months. So that might be a better way to work it. Rather than a whole year.
Okay, so if this was my first time having an attempt at a digital calendar, what would be the tips and tricks you'd recommend, or at least the things I do as a first timer? I'll go to both of you for this, but we'll start. Okay. Sorry, I'll go with Jara first.
Okay, so
we'll
before you actually put the structure into the calendar, I think the most important thing if you're starting out is to make sure you've defined your goals first, right? So define your goals and then your target customers. So you know kind of who you're talking to and what you're trying to say to them and what you want to get them to do. Once you've got those kind of 3 things nutted out, then you can start to just, with your event calendar and marketing calendar, at least just put in some key dates that you can do something that's going to influence those things. So before you jump into doing the calendar piece, just get those bits right. Then you've got a bit of a strategy, and then you can start to pick specific dates for promotions and events that align to that.
Thank you, Jared. Lisa?
I think the other thing is, once you've done that as well, going what resource you have. So actually going, well, is it just me? Yes, it is. I'm not going to go big, because that will help you with what you've actually got to set up. Yep. If you're sort of setting up something every day, but you also have to run the front of the shop and you have to do the orders that are coming in on your website, well, you know, you're going to probably stretch yourself very thin. So look at what resource you have and then start going, well, maybe it's a fortnightly marketing calendar that I'm actually doing, where I do a post or an activity every 2 weeks, and that's okay.
So from what I'm hearing from both of you, strategy first, resource assessment, marketing plan. Yeah.
Okay. That's a great call.
So do we have any marketing templates, calendar templates, or examples that people that have been listening today can use?
Yes, we do. So with our email that we do tomorrow to send you all the link to this presentation, we will also be sending out a marketing calendar template. There's a yearly one, and then it breaks down into weeks as well. So up to you if you want to use it, but at least it will hopefully give you a good idea of ways you could look at doing it. And that will be available to everyone who's attended today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. Just before we go, I just thought I'd give you, Jara and Lisa, an opportunity to maybe just give a nugget from today. If you were wanting people from today to take one thing away with them, what would it be, Jara?
Measure everything. I've kind of mentioned it before, but yeah, it's invaluable, because you either have 2 outcomes from your marketing activities, right? You either win or you learn. And the only way you learn is if you've measured everything, so you can get some data and improve for the next time.
Thanks, Jared. Lisa?
Give it time. So, you know, your first Facebook post, if you don't have a following or, you know, it might not go too well, do a few more, just keep doing it a little bit and then have a review after maybe 2 months. Don't, you know, just give up just because the first one didn't work.
Brilliant. Thank you both. And I think that kind of brings us to the end of our webinar, but just as an overview, what we know is that 2021 is set to be a big year online as we continue to learn and grow in the post-COVID world. There is an opportunity of having a year's digital marketing activity on a calendar that can give you the opportunity to focus on other aspects of your business. And our prediction is that businesses with a marketing plan and calendar in place will be able to adapt to new strategies and business direction and change business directions as they need. And especially in today's environment where COVID might come and go, we need to be able to adapt. So having this planned out will enable you to adapt better. It's our recommendation that if it's your first time, then start with a basic version. You don't have to try everything at once. So Zeald has helped over 15,000 businesses transform digitally over the last 20 years. We can provide a free strategy and website audit session with one of our experienced digital business strategists. Just get in touch with us and have a look on our website for more details around that. We also launched last year our Get E-commerce movement to help Kiwi businesses to get online as soon as possible. And you can go to zeald.com for more information on our Get E-commerce movement and get a free e-commerce website. So for 2021, we're moved to having webinars every 2 weeks. Our next webinar will be on the 10th of February at 10 a.m. Please share that with friends and other business owners that you think this might be helpful for. This is what we just want to do, is to help New Zealand businesses be successful online. Our next webinar on the 10th of February is on effective email marketing strategies to promote your flash sales. So it's specific to email marketing, and you can discover how to take advantage of email marketing to reach more people and boost your sales. It's an old tool, but it's a very effective tool. So come on and listen to that one and get some really valuable tips. We have a library of our webinars which are full of great advice, and you can look at them on our website there and share them with other people as well. I would just wish, I'm just going to stop my share there, to give Lisa and Jara a really special thanks for joining us today and sharing your expertise. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks, everyone.
I wish you all a happy and safe week, and I hope you're able to get out and enjoy the long weekends that are coming up, and look forward to all seeing you on February the 10th. Take care.
See ya.